Hey everybody, this is Andre here with the Kevin Breeze channel, and in this video, we're going to be comparing the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G. Now the A52 5G is the direct successor of the A51 5G, so we're going to see what's changed and if it's actually an upgrade. Let's get started. So the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has a 6.5-inch 120Hz Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 407, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 84.1%. We got a hole punch here for the front-facing camera, and this camera is 32 megapixels. The Samsung Galaxy A51 5G has a 6.5-inch Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 1080p, a PPI of 405, an aspect ratio of 20:9, and a screen-to-body ratio of 87.2%. The Samsung Galaxy A51 5G also has a hole-punch front-facing camera that is also 32 megapixels, so basically the same front-facing camera. It might be a tiny bit better quality on the A52 5G, but the difference is not really going to be a whole lot. Now overall, the design of these phones both look really good and not a whole lot has changed. We still have the Super AMOLED display in 1080p with basically the same PPI. So as far as the resolution and quality and all that goes, it is going to be the same. The main difference between the two displays is that the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has a 120Hz display, so it's going to be a little bit faster as far as movement on the screen goes. So as you can see right here, the scrolling is super fast, whereas the scrolling on the A51 5G is just average. This is going to make a big difference when it comes to something like content consumption. If you're streaming videos or playing a high performance game, then you're going to see that difference on the A52 5G. The movement is going to be smoother and more fluent. But if you're not doing a whole lot of video streaming and content consumption and that sort of thing, then it might not really matter a whole lot. Besides the A52 being a little bit thicker in general, it also has slightly thicker bezels, which I'm not really a huge fan of, but at the same time, it's not really that distracting like it is in other phones. I typically like the thinnest bezels possible because it gives the phone a more sleek and modern look. But in this case, it's not too bad just because the quality of the design of this phone is so nice that you won't really notice that much. Now, both of these phones have 128 gigabytes of internal storage, but the difference is with the A52 5G, you actually have the option to get the variant with 256 gigabytes. Regardless, you're gonna have a great amount of storage, which you're probably not gonna run out of unless you're doing something like video shoots and you have a ton of video files, especially if you shoot in 4K, which both these phones can in both cameras. So if you're doing that, then it does make sense to go up to 256 gigabytes with the A52, but otherwise, 128 gigabytes is gonna be plenty of space for your daily needs. Unfortunately, neither of these phones have wireless charging, but both of them have a fingerprint scanner and face unlock, so that's really nice as far as security goes. You have both options, so if one's not working out too well, you can always use the other. Both of these fingerprint scanners are in the display. We're gonna go ahead and give each of them a try, starting with the A52 5G. One more time. And that was really fast and responsive. I have no complaints about that one. Let's check out the fingerprint scanner for the A51 5G. That was really good. One more time. So both phones have really good fingerprint scanners. I used to say the power button is the best spot for a fingerprint scanner because of how fast and convenient it is. But I've actually started to like the in-display fingerprint scanners that these phones have a lot better, just because it looks so much better, and the nice modern touch and feel that these fingerprint scanners give the phones outweighs the convenience factor of having a fingerprint scanner on the power button. So overall, Samsung did a really good job designing these fingerprint scanners because they not only work really well, but they look good too. Now we're going to take a look at the rear camera setups of these two phones. The Samsung Galaxy A52 5G has a 64 megapixel rear camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. So pretty much everything you would expect in the camera setup of a mid-level phone. The only thing that it's really missing is a telephoto lens, which is not really a mid-level phone type of feature. You would expect to see something like that on a really high-end phone or a flagship phone. The A51 5G has pretty much the same features with the 48 megapixel rear camera, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. So there's not a huge difference in the camera setups as far as the features go. It really comes down to the quality. And seeing that the A52 5G has a 64 megapixel rear camera and the A51 5G has a 48 megapixel rear camera, I would say the photos taken by the A52 5G are going to be a tiny bit higher quality. Now, if you are really interested in seeing the exact difference between the two as far as the photo quality goes, I would suggest checking out the full reviews of each phone on the channel, where you can see full audio and video samples from each device. Now, as far as video goes, both of these phones are able to shoot in 4K in both the rear and the front cameras. So in general, as far as camera features and quality, both phones have it all. I would say if you want to get the best of the best, the Samsung Galaxy A52 is going to be the way to go as far as the camera quality goes. It is definitely a little bit of an upgrade, going to a higher megapixel camera with likely a better sensor as well. But feature-wise, not a whole lot has really changed since these phones have the same types of cameras. Now internally, depending on the variant you get, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G is getting either 6 or 8 gigabytes of RAM, with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 750G processor. The Samsung Galaxy A51 5G is getting 6 gigabytes of RAM with the Exynos 980 processor. We ran Geekbench 5 benchmark tests on both of these phones. The Samsung Galaxy A52 5G came back with a single core score of 647 and a multi-core score of 1939. The A51 5G came back with a single core score of 489 and a multi-core score of 1816. So yes, it is a little bit of an improvement, but I wouldn't say it's that much. I'm not really too impressed with the improvement in the processing power between these two generations. I think they could have done a little bit better. That being said, neither phones are bad. It's just for a 5G phone at this level, I would expect at least a multi-core score over 2000. Now with this difference in processing power, there's really not going to be a noticeable difference when it comes to lower end activities like browsing the web and using social media. But just to give you an idea of what this really looks like, I'm going to do a demonstration so you can see it in action. We're going to start by opening Google Chrome. So there, the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G did open just a tiny bit faster. Let's try a web page. In that time, the A52 5G opened that web page faster. Let's try another web page and see if this is consistent. Once again, the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G did open that faster. Now overall, for the most part, the Samsung Galaxy A52 was faster. It opened the web pages just a tiny bit faster, but the A51 5G pulled up Google Chrome faster. Now this is probably not going to be consistent every single time, and the difference was so close that I really wouldn't say it's that important for normal activities. Now if you're doing something that's a lot more taxing on the processor, then the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G might do a little bit better because it is a tiny bit more powerful, and if you have the variant with 8 gigabytes of RAM, it's going to be able to handle something that's more demanding, especially when it involves multitasking, a little bit better. Both of these phones have a 4500 milliamp hour battery, so really good size, not quite 5000, so it's not the biggest out there, but it is going to give you a lot of battery life, not only per charge, but the longevity down the road is going to be really good. Now, one new feature that was introduced with the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G that the A51 5G doesn't have is dust and water resistance. The Samsung Galaxy A52 5G actually has water resistance up to 1 meter for 30 minutes, and I think that's really impressive because before this, I haven't really seen very many phones that aren't flagship phones that have dust and water resistance. So if you're in a more rough environment with a lot of dust, or if you run the risk of exposing your phone to water frequently, the extra durability is definitely going to be useful. Now, in conclusion, is the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G an upgrade from the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G? I would definitely say it is. It might not be leaps and bounds ahead, but there are definitely some improvements and some new features that have been added. I really do like the dust and water resistance. I think that's something that a lot of more mid-level phones need, that in the past has been more reserved for flagship phones. In addition to that, while the processor of the A52 5G isn't the upgrade I was hoping for, it still is noticeably better in the sense that the RAM is a lot higher, so it's going to be able to handle more demanding activities a little better. The camera is also definitely an upgrade. You can tell by the megapixels that it's an improvement. And of course, the 120Hz display is good as well. At the end of the day, the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G is a really good phone with a lot of nice features and well-rounded strengths that I've always been a fan of, and I would consider the A52 5G a good improvement from the A51 5G. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.